I see that, and let's go up one more.
That's $2.
Yeah, $2.
Oh, why not? And, another one for good luck.
All right, Angela, all right. It's your money. I'm in.
Excuse me. I don't have this on my list. What beats a royal flush? Well, then I'll just have to get one of those.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to AOA, the Who's the Boss podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Kevin.
And we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss.
And so far, we're doing it.
We are.
Right?
I mean, we're episode 18 into season 2.
Yeah, that's great.
I know. I think we've done like 27 episodes.
Wow.
Out of 100.
That's crazy. I need to go back and listen to the pilot.
No. It's so...
Because you keep saying that's why we don't get any more people. They listen to that pilot and they leave.
I know, everyone listens.
Everybody's like, hey, man, you should listen to this podcast. And they
start
listen
with
to the pilot.
episode 5. Just start with episode 5.
And they're like, oh my God, these two.
So I don't have any news, but I did want to share something that I discovered this week, which is that there are 3 top writing teams. Just kick that microphone across the table. There are 3 top writing teams on this show.
Okay.
And they are Ken Cinnamon, Karen Wengrod, and who wrote tonight's episode. They are Prudence Fraser and Robert Sternin, and then Bill Steinkellner and Sherry Steinkellner, who wrote under the last name Eichen when she was on Who's the Boss. I realized that all 3 of them are married couples.
Oh.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
I thought that was very interesting.
And they're the only people who wrote for the show?
No.
Oh.
There are other writers that come in and out, but I would say the 3 top, like most of the episodes, I'm so happy you can hear the dog eating in the background.
This dog.
Besides Martin and Blake also, who step in and write some, I would say that they write the bulk of the episodes.
Oh, okay.
And Bill and Sherry are also story editors on most of the episodes. But I thought it was interesting that it's 3 married couples. So it's cool because, one, we still know that there aren't enough women in writing rooms. There are more women in writing rooms. But on this show, which was already quite progressive, it's nice to see that there were 3 married couples, obviously. In these couples, one of them, and each one was a woman.
Yeah.
And I also just think that that's nice for them to write, the relationship. And also, I really would love to sit them down and ask them, like, who wanted Tony and Angela together earlier? What kind of discussions were going on in the writing room about how long to drag this out? And, I would just love to know, some of the back and forth that these couples had.
Well, maybe someday they'll be on.
Maybe, right? I think I could probably find a couple on Facebook. I might try to reach out, or at least send some questions to see if they'd be interested in asking and answering any of them.
180 people listen to this. Do you want us to get to you when we're at 1,000?
But they just might do it for the nostalgia of it.
No, I know. I
mean, they're probably very busy writing other stuff.
Because the people who do listen are very into it.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. If anybody knows any of the writers.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah, or I'll just find them on Facebook.
Or that too.
So tonight's episode is Season 2, Episode 18. The episode is titled When Worlds Collide. It first aired on February 18th, 1986, and the TV Guide summary says, Tony's marathon poker game threatens to ruin Angela's brunch with her college friend.
Ooh.
It was written by one of the married couples, Karen Wengrod and Ken Cinnamon. Now, I'm all for...
Name. Ken Cinnamon.
I'm all for people not changing their name when they get married. But Cinnamon is a pretty badass last name. I think I would have.
That's what I'm saying.
If I had married Ken Cinnamon, I think I would have had to become Tori Cinnamon, which sounds even more like a porn star
It does.
than Tori already sounds.
Or a stripper. Now, coming to the stage, Tori Cinnamon.
So when tonight's episode opens, Tony is on the phone with Philly Fingers.
Of course.
And we find out that Philly's wife has just thrown him out.
Philly's wife.
And Angela and Samantha are also in the kitchen while he's on the phone. And she's like, oh, no, why? And he says, well, he came home late from a party. And she's like, that sounds like irrational.
It doesn't sound fair.
Right, yeah. And he's like, well, it was a New Year's party from 1984. It's now 1986.
Right. Philly Fingers has been gone for 2 years.
Yeah. So then Samantha says, well, how about Joey? And the Joey she's talking about is Joey Rosini. And he's like, his wife just had a baby. So that's good continuity, or it's not. I can't tell. Because the wife that would have just had a baby is Teresa, who we met in Thanksgiving at the Rosinis. But she looked like she was about 9.5 months pregnant during Thanksgiving at the Rosinis. So either they're making a joke that she's already had another baby, or the baby's like 3 months old, and they're just saying that she just had a baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The baby's a little older.
Like
just had a
newborn.
baby, but not really.
Right.
Still newborn, couple months.
So we'll go with good continuity. That was cute.
I'll take it.
Then Samantha says, well, what about Pee-wee? And he says he's just had his rugs cleaned.
I don't even know Pee-wee had rugs. What is that? What was happening here?
I don't know. I think that they had to set that up just so they could have the joke that's going to come up later.
Yep, you're probably right.
So then Angela's like, well, did I miss something? What is happening here? And Sam's like, well, Dad's trying to find a place for his monthly poker game, and no one's available, so they're not going to be able to do it. So Angela says, I have a wonderful idea. And she gets up and she takes the phone from Tony and says, hello, Mr. Fingers.
I know, that's fantastic.
So cute.
Mr. Finger, like she believes his last name's really Fingers. Philly Fingers. It's not because he steals things. His name is really Fingers.
So she invites Philly and all the guys to her house.
Philly, Pee-wee, and Eddie.
Right, on Saturday for a party.
And Joey. I'm sorry, and Joey.
Right, and Joey. So Tony's not so sure about this at first. He's like, I don't know. I mean, these guys are real rough around the edges. Sam's like, they're disgusting.
I know, it's pretty funny.
And she insists, no, like, I really want to meet your friends, and I would be happy to have them here. So he's like, all right, let's do it. I'll tell Pee-wee to get dressed. And she says, no, let's keep it informal. Because you know that Angela would come downstairs that night in like some sort of sequin gown on.
Right.
If it wasn't going to be kept informal.
Right. You're exactly right.
Right. Just like when they stay at home for dinner and she still dresses like she's going to Chez Renee.
Right. Chez Renee.
Call back to last episode.
Yeah.
So Tony's like, no, Pee-wee likes to play in just his underwear. So she says, yes. Okay, a shirt would be good. And Sam's like, I mean, you haven't even seen this guy's shirt.
Why is he playing in just underwear?
I don't know.
Wait a minute. Time out.
Yeah.
But, you haven't seen his shirts,
warm.
which is actually kind of foreshadowing.
Oh, that is, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So then Angela looks down. She picks up a piece of mail that she didn't notice was sitting there until just then, and then goes, "Eee!" in the most obnoxious way ever.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Angela always gets that squeal whenever there's some sort of like college or old friend coming to visit.
I know.
So
who does that? Nobody.
Not anyone I know. No. So she says that it's a letter from her very best friend. Then she opens the letter. Oh, her very best friend from grad school. She opens the letter. I haven't seen her in years. She reads it. Oh, she's coming Saturday for dinner. So I know.
Again, with the show and the people just showing up out of nowhere.
That's exactly in my notes. Again, with someone just showing up. No phone call.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be there Saturday. Cool. See you then.
Right.
Like, whoa, you're from California.
I know, like, first of all, this isn't like the 1700s where you had to send mail. Like, why couldn't this woman call her and say, like, I'm planning to come into town. Do you want to get together? She sends a letter that just says, I'm coming Saturday for dinner.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you think it is? Wednesday?
Yeah,
Thursday?
I'm thinking it's like, at the most Monday. It can't be before the Saturday because they're just referencing it as Saturday. So it's within a week.
So it's legit that Saturday.
Right. So she's squealing again, and then Tony's like, that's my poker party night. And she says, oh no, what are you going to do?
Yeah, she's all like tough shit. After she just invited Mr. Fingers over and all his friends, she's like, no, too bad.
It's so mean.
It is.
It's really
I didn't understand
a shitty
that.
move on Angelo's part. So, yeah, he's like, well, she's like, oh, no, what are you going to do? And he's like, what am I going to do? She's like, yeah, they're your friends. And he says, you just invited them. So she, says, well, I would love to have them, but not with Emily. She's so reserved and conservative. She's not the free spirit that I am. When I think of Angela, I think of free spirit, and Tony is thinking those exact words as he's staring at her.
I love the fact that Angela thinks she's a free spirit.
Right? Yeah, oh yeah. Now Tony's all sad, and he's like, "All right, well, I'll go call my friends and tell them that it's off." And she says, "I feel terrible." Well, good. You should feel terrible because you're doing something really crappy right now.
After you just invited.
Oh, you know what we forgot to mention? The refrigerator door in that scene, too.
Oh, yeah. God, how could I forget? It's the first thing I noticed when we watched it.
Yeah, by this point, it's closed. But if you watch this scene unfold when he's, like, on the phone with Philly Fingers, the refrigerator door is partially open the entire time.
Well, no, it opens and closes.
Oh, does it?
I mean,
okay.
it doesn't open.
Yeah, you're right.
It's open
if you're
right now.
Right behind. Okay, sorry. We have it playing in the background.
Yeah. But, I mean, it opens and, like, there's shots where it's closed and shots where it's open.
Throughout the whole scene.
Yeah.
So look for that. And it's open to different degrees, too, throughout the whole scene.
It's like, how did nobody notice that? Like,
I know.
I'm sure it was a real fridge. It probably really was working, and the crew probably kept, like, snacks or something in there.
Oh,
Somebody probably went over and grabbed something that didn't close it all the way.
Or, like, the seal's messed up or something.
Yeah, it's true.
So Angela feels bad that she's being such a terrible friend. And so she says, okay, well, I'll do brunch on Sunday, and then you can still have the guys over Saturday night. So how does she plan on contacting Emily to let her know this? If they're only...
Right, horse
Is she now going to send some post back?
Right, deet, deet, deet. Like a...
a telegram?
You got to send in... Hopefully it gets there by...
I hope Emily put her number... Right, because now Emily's probably like in... I mean, unless she's coming in and seeing Angela at the beginning of her trip, she may already be in transit. So, who knows? It's TV.
Okay. Right, like, who cares, right?
And Tony says, well, that's great, because she sounds more like a brunch person anyway, and my guys are Saturday night animals.
Right.
So now we're to Saturday night, and one of the Saturday night animals is tidying up the living room before his friends get there.
I know. And it's that same little fake plant, plant, flowers, whatever that is, vase. That Angela ends up moving around later, too. I think sees a lot of action.
It does. So the doorbell rings, and he's so excited that he jumps, and he leaps. We actually, like, rewound this to see if he was leaping over something, and he's not. He's just leaping through the air because he's so excited his friends are there.
Yeah. He, and you know what? It's so ridiculous. Like, what if, like, you were standing here in the living room and, like, the doorbell rang and I did that? You'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's not normal. You're leaping, like, over an imaginary dog or something that's there in the middle of the living room.
He's so easily excited.
It's just funny.
Again, sitcom characters are funny to watch, but would be very odd people in real life.
I know. He just really leaps. Yeah. Like, there's, like, he spotted
Zippity-doo-dah.
like a running water or something, a little river in front of him.
So when they come through the door, the first friend through the door is Joey. So that's Joey Rossini. We've already met him, played by Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Yep.
Then the second friend to come in is Philly Fingers. He's played by John Del Regno.
Yeah, that's what I read it as.
Yeah. So he's on 4 total episodes of Who's the Boss. This is his first one. he's done a lot of character acting throughout the years, but nothing really that he is super known for that you would recognize him necessarily. But yeah, he'll be in Raging Housekeeper, a moving episode, which I remember he has a really cute part in that, and Boozing Buddies.
Ooh.
Yeah. So then, next to the door is Pee-wee. This is Dennis Berkeley. Again, character actor. And so the interesting thing here is that there is another character. I actually got them confused. So I realized that there is another character that we're going to see introduced, and his name is Tiny, and he's also a large man.
Oh, I see.
And so at first I thought that maybe Pee-wee, the actor, was no longer available, so they just changed his character. But they do actually, overlap a bit. So
Pee-wee's definitely a different person than Tiny.
He is, yes. It's a different actor that plays him. But I feel like whenever they couldn't get the actor who was Pee-wee, they just got the actor to play Tiny and then just changed the name in the script. Because
went with it.
Yeah, because they're the same character with a similar name, making fun of the fact that they're not small, and they even look very similar. So but Dennis Berkeley died in 2013 at the age of 67 of a heart attack.
That's this guy.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So we can go back to you haven't seen his shirts, and here Pee-wee is wearing a Hawaiian.
Yeah, an obnoxious Hawaiian shirt.
So then they all come through, and Tony says to Pee-wee, "How are your rugs?" Wet.
Right.
Then he says to Joey, "How's your baby?" Wet. And then he says to Philly, "How's your wife?" And he says, "Don't ask."
Yeah.
So
I know, it's almost a borderline.
I feel like
wow.
that. I think that's a little borderline for the adults joke.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
Because Philly's wife is not happy with him right now. So
no. Well, he's been home for 2 years.
So Eddie. So Tony asks where Eddie is.
Not only has he not been home for 2 years, he got a pass to go out on a Saturday night.
Well, I think he doesn't live there anymore. He's gotten thrown out of the house.
That's true.
Yeah. So where's Eddie? Tony asks. Well, Eddie comes in holding two. What did you say these were?
They're beer kegs.
Well, I know that.
But I mean,
but the size.
Well, I think they're pony kegs, but at the time, pony kegs were shorter and wider rather than being taller and skinnier than they are now.
Yeah, they're just small kegs.
Yeah, they're small kegs, pony kegs.
Eddie is played by Robert Krantz. Again, some stuff, but nothing that you would really know him from immediately. Tony asks, "Aren't those heavy?" And he says, "No, it's light beer." Then Tony says something that I don't understand at all. He asks him, "Do you got a match?" And he says, "Yeah." Eddie responds with, "Yeah, your face, my," and he's going to say the word ass.
Right.
But Angela comes down the stairs, so Tony says, "Angela," so that he doesn't curse.
I know, but what is the reference other than?
I don't know, because you don't use a match on a keg, right?
Does that mean because they're gonna? I know, I even looked it up. Does that mean that they're gonna smoke cigars? You want to make sure it matches? I think they just wanted the joke, my face, your ass, or whatever.
I guess so. Yeah. If anyone knows what they were saying and we're just dumb, please let me know.
But there are just two kegs.
Yeah.
Two pony kegs. So and if they really are pony kegs.
You got a match. Maybe he means, are they the same beer?
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. You got a match. But then why would he say my face, your ass?
Because
that's where I'm get lost.
His face matches.
Oh, because his face matches his ass.
Yes.
See,
that part I got. I didn't understand the part about the keg.
Right. Oh, the turkey's done or something.
I don't know if they can hear that in the. It's my text message.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll just close this. Okay, so Angela comes down the stairs. And she's,
well, just, for reference for everybody, a pony keg has 83 12-ounce beers, and there are two of them. So apparently they're going to drink 166 beers.
Between five guys?
Five
guys?
Yeah, do the math.
Wow, that's a lot of beer.
And
maybe
yet
Angela's going to have
Eddie and Tony are still functional the next day.
But because we saw all this beer, we are having beer tonight.
I know, I had to have a beer.
This podcast.
I know, and like you said, you were in a mood for a beer.
Yeah. And I'm halfway through mine, so
Wow.
be warned. So Angela comes down the stairs. She's dressed like a bottle of calamine lotion. Like, I don't understand.
She's going to go
What?
for I would say she's going to go for a light jog, but the pants are pleated.
You're right. They're like pleated
They're pleated.
pants.
It's like a jog tracksuit that's fancy with pleats.
Yeah, no, like this is like
And a collar.
Yeah, like the shirt and the pants match, and then they match the bottom of the sweater until it like gradients into gray at the top.
Blends into the...
Yeah. So anyway, she's not keeping it informal in any way, but she didn't come down in sequence. So I guess we'll take that as a win. So Angela says to Pee-wee, "You must be Pee-wee." And he's like, "What makes you say that?" And she gets a little nervous that she's just insulted him. But then they all start laughing. So she knows she's okay. So Tony introduces her to the guys. And he's like, "This is my boss, Angela." And they all immediately just start ogling her, like looking her up and down.
Like I've never seen a woman before.
And she's all like embarrassed and a little flattered, I think. And Pee-wee's like, "Oh, this is a tough job. You got any openings for me?" And she's like, "Well, if I'm ever planning a luau, I will call you."
All right, and then it's silent again for a minute.
Right, because they're all pretending that they don't get her joke, and then they laugh at her. So, we're showing here that Angela's fitting in pretty well with all of Tony's friends. So
And I think that's what makes her realize that she wants to hang out and play poker.
Right, yeah.
I think it's kind of a cute moment, like she wants to get a little crazy tonight.
Right. Yeah, like I think this is what she was hoping for, that they were going to like her and that she would be able to participate.
And then at that moment, Mona rolls in something that looks like it's an insane evening gown.
I know. So, yes. So she comes in the back door. She's going to the policeman's ball. Wait, did I get that wrong? Police officer's ball? Police ball? I don't know. Yeah, and she's just like decked. There's jewels on this dress.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And she does a twirl. She lets them all know. Here it
twirls.
all is, boys.
Yeah.
And then she said, what did she say? I thought I smelled men.
Right.
It is the policeman's ball.
Okay, policeman's ball. Yes, she thought she smelled men. So the police officer who's coming to pick her up, he starts firing off the siren in front of the house, and Philly Fingers gets nervous.
Well, he is Philly Fingers.
Right. He's looking for a back door. She's like, "No, don't worry. That's just Officer Bob." And so he starts in with a loudspeaker calling her out. And I just wonder whose voice that is. Like, it had to...
Oh, yeah.
Is it the director?
Think about that.
Is it, a crew member? I always love stuff like that. So she goes out. She leaves.
And then the police siren somehow does a wolf whistle.
Cat call, yeah.
Which I don't understand that at all. Like, how would he do that?
So now we're in the kitchen where the guys are all getting ready to play poker. Pee-wee's already getting beer everywhere. And Angela comes in. She takes the little stool that's off to the side and scoots it over to the table and sits down.
She's got a pocket full of money and
a so
book.
She's like, can I play? And Tony's like, "What are you doing? You don't know how to play poker." And she's like, "Well, I've been studying for 2 days." And she pulls out a little poker book out of one of the large pockets, I'm guessing, in her pants.
Yeah, the pleated pants.
And then Philly asks her, "Well, do you have any money?" And she pulls out a wad of cash.
So ridiculous.
And says, "Is this enough?" And they say, "Let her play."
Yep.
So she starts dealing the cards.
But they should have known the beginner's luck. That anytime I've ever played poker, including the first time I ever played poker, the beginner, the new person always does well.
Oh,
they
really?
just kill. Yep, every time. The first time I ever played, I won like $200.
Wow.
I remember that. And then like anytime I've ever played with people who a new guy comes in or a new person or whatever, they always win.
Maybe they're just playing
It's
you
because
like
they don't.
because
they're not overthinking.
They're not overthinking
because they're still learning
exactly.
it. So they win.
So she starts dealing out the cards. One for you, one for you, one for you, another one for you. And Tony's like, "Just deal the cards." So she asks them, "Is it okay if I look at my book? Because I'm still not sure exactly what beats what." And Philly says, "You can look at whatever you want." And when they show Philly, we get an unusual shot of the fourth wall. So it's the wall behind the stove.
Yeah.
with a little spice rack above it and a little picture.
Yeah, some fancy wallpaper, which matches the rest of the kitchen.
Right, of course. So, yeah, that's what Tony's staring at most of the time. Although, not really. So, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah.
Well, okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you lost your place, one odd thing, well, not odd thing, but one thing I noticed about this scene is the fact that the beer looks real. Like, and not only does it look, I know I keep going back to the beer. Not only does it look real, but it looks like it came out of a keg. Like it's soup. When they first poured it,
it's
super
really
foamy.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they really went authentic with this.
I wonder what you can do and put in a keg to make it foam like that.
I did a little research online, and they said that a lot of times they use non-alcoholic beer in shows,
that makes sense.
Obviously to make it look like real beer.
Yeah.
They might have gotten a keg. I mean, there was near beer at the time.
Right, true.
I don't know if anybody remembers near beer.
No. What about O'Doul's? I remember that one.
It was O'Doul's. O'Doul's was after near beer.
Okay.
Near beer was like the first non-alcoholic beer. I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but. Anyway, the beer looks very real.
Yeah,
and it looks
is
like a very real
beer.
light beer. Okay, sorry.
Or if they shot this show and they didn't do a lot of takes, maybe it was real beer. But
that's true. Maybe they were drinking.
I don't really
know it
know
was the 80s. They were drinking during the show.
Yeah. Okay, so Angela's first hand, she puts in, I think Tony puts in, it goes around the table. They've all put in $1. Then Tony raises it to $2. And she says, okay, I can do that. She puts in $2. And she says, we'll add one more just for good luck.
I know.
And she makes a big show about putting one more dollar in. And then the guys kind of mimic her putting in their extra $1. And
I like that they're playing with cash. Like they're not using poker chips.
Oh,
that's probably what you did in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Right. Maybe nobody has a real poker set, so they only have cash, and then maybe one time with the winnings, they should buy a poker set.
No, you think Philly Fingers would steal one?
That's true. So she puts in their extra $1, and then she says, "What beats a royal flush?" And they're all like, "Ugh," and they fold.
Yeah, because if you know poker, nothing beats a royal flush.
Yes, I think I did know that. And she says, well, I'm just going to have to get one of those. And so they all realize that she's just bluffed them, which is very cute.
Yes.
So they're all kind of
not supposed to do.
Oh, really?
Well, if you bluff, you're never supposed to admit it.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
But yes, I made for
it
was a good moment. Yeah, it was funny.
So they're all kind of annoyed, but also kind of impressed, and they think she's fun, so they're going to let her stay. So Tony hands her the cards, and she starts dealing out a new hand, and she says, welcome to Connecticut, boys.
I know, it's fantastic. Like, suddenly she owns the table.
Right.
And then they dissolve to the next scene, and she's got the hat all sideways, and the glasses are on.
Off. Yeah, her sweater's off. The Philly Fingers hat is on her head. But I want to go back to one thing that I noticed a little earlier in this episode and then really in this scene. So I've noticed in interviews that Judith does a thing with her tongue a lot. Like her tongue really licks her lips a lot and moves around a lot in her mouth when she's talking. But I don't notice that as Angela. And I can't remember, I think I might have noticed it a bit on The Politician. Maybe she worked it into that character. But I think it's interesting that we normally don't see that in Angela. But then here, when she's starting to get a little sassy with the guys, she does that thing with her tongue.
Well, she does in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, in the beginning of the episode, too, when she says, I have an idea. She kind of does it a bit. And I know we were talking about her tongue with the cello, but I feel like that was a different tongue. That's like cute concentration tongue.
Oh, yeah. Which
and
is
this
a thing
is
too.
Just more of like I don't really know what I would call it. Some sort of like not really a tick or like a habit or something that she does, but it's interesting how we see it here a little bit in Angela when normally we don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I'm sorry. Is it the first time you said you've noticed it, or you have noticed it before?
I noticed
'Cause
it
I've
before
never-
in this episode. This
I
episode is
see.
the first time I've noticed.
This is
her
the birth
doing it.
of the tongue.
Right. But when I watch interviews of Judith, her tongue is all over the place when she's talking. So
Well, I will say this: it's not nearly as annoying as Tony's clapping.
no.
And tonight I took a clap count.
Oh, you did.
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll get to that.
If anybody would like to guess. No,
So when they do you want to do it now or do you want to wait till the end?
Maybe we'll wait to the end.
Okay, yeah, let's get
The
through
clapping
it
and
then-
stomping
and then-
after his own jokes.
So but they cut to a bit later. So yes, Angela's got Philly's hat on. The sweater's come off. She's wearing just her shirt. She's
Oh
really
yeah, I didn't
loosening
even
up.
realize that the sweater was off.
Yeah, she might have even unbuttoned a button.
Oof.
So
Yeah, I think you're right.
they're all having a good time. She's getting along great with the guys. She's sharing beef jerky with Pee-wee.
I know that could roast me out. She's like, Pee-wee, what did she say?
Stop
like
hogging the beef jerky.
And then I'm thinking a bag.
Right, no.
Like modern day, the way
Yeah.
beef jerky is.
Right.
A bag's gonna come over. No, he hands her like a stick, and she takes it and starts gnawing on
Yeah,
it.
takes a chunk
After
off of
Pee-wee's
it.
been gnawing
Yeah.
on it. It's a gross. What's happening?
And Pee-wee's spilling beer all over himself.
Well, yeah.
And Tony's
I
like,
can't judge.
Tony's like, cut it out. What are you doing? And Angela's on Pee-wee's side. She's like, come on, relax, Tony. And she says how Tony has gotten so uptight since he's moved to Connecticut.
Oh yeah. She's so comfortable. She can take a dig at Tony in front
Right.
of his buds.
Yeah. So they're all getting ready to deal another hand. Angela's won quite a bit of money. And so she says, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to take all your money and I'm leaving. They don't want her to leave, but she says she has an important brunch tomorrow.
That's right. She does.
And Pee-wee says, I know how that is.
When do you think the last time Pee-wee went to brunch?
Yeah. So I think it's really cute how she takes the hat off of her head and she puts it on Tony's.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a little bit of a flirty move there. She could have given it back to Philly, but she didn't. So she gets up and she leaves, and Tony follows her out into the living room. And I think when I was watching this on a rewatch, I think this is really the first time we see Tony showing that he's interested in her.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really flirty, episode, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a few moments, for
Yeah.
sure.
So he follows her out because it's kind of that thing. Okay, so if you're at a party or something and there's a guy that you're interested in, he's interested in you, and then you leave, if he walks you out, like this is kind of that version of that, Like Tony's
Yeah.
going to leave his friends and he's going to just go walk her out and say goodnight to her before
I've
she
never
goes.
had a guy walk me out.
But I'm trying to think, did that ever happen with us? No.
I feel like it did.
Well,
There
we
were a
had-
lot of parties.
I know, but we had an odd start. We weren't really.
I know, but there were a lot of parties. I bet I walked you out.
But
I stayed.
So, I think that is a sign right there that someone's into you when he's going to get up and leave his friends and then go and say goodnight to you before you leave.
Because you always left the parties early.
Oh, well, yes. Well, the parties
10
were always at
o'clock.
your house. So.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yes, but
That's
I did.
true. I
At
wouldn't leave my
9:30, I
house.
was out.
9:30, 10 at the latest.
Ronan, stop walking
I know,
around.
it really is.
You
It's
hear
like
the
he's
little
tap
click clack
dancing.
of that. I know. Sorry. So, yeah, he follows her into the living room and he's like, Angela, and she says, yo.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah, it is.
I could tell she's still real loose with the guys,
Right. And so he asked, do you want me to throw them out because they can stay up really late? And she says, no, enjoy yourselves. Like, I'm a sound sleeper. I'm not going to hear anything. And she says that they were a great bunch of guys. He says, you
He's
were
like them.
really terrific tonight.
Oh,
and
sorry,
she's
yeah.
like, yeah, I was. She's like, but they're a really great bunch of guys. And yeah, and he's like,
those
"Them?"
guys?
Yeah. And she says, I think they like me too. And he says, of course they like you. I mean, what's not... Oh, no, he said, they love you. What's not to love? And he kind of like looks her up and down a bit. And then you can tell she's a bit caught off guard by that.
Right,
because-
and then he's like, what did I say?
Right. And he's probably had a little bit to drink here, and she may have
That's
had
true.
to.
But at that point, then Eddie interrupts the
Yeah.
moment.
Right. So Eddie interrupts and he says, are you coming back? And Tony's kind of shushing him away, like, I'll be right there.
Right, like, get out of here.
Right, get out of here.
But I think Eddie got him out of a little jam there.
Because
he had said, what's not to like, and then it got an awkward pause.
Yeah, that's true. He kind of broke that up a little bit for him. So he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back and play cards. Good night. And he goes back in. She's kind of looking after him as he leaves. So when he goes back inside the kitchen to play cards and sits down, he's like, let's play. I'm feeling hot. And Eddie says, yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, I know. And then they all throw cards at him.
They do. So they're kind of ribbing him, probably thinking that he has a bit of a crush on her as well.
Yeah, or something's going on anyway.
Yeah, or they probably just think they're sleeping together and they don't know yet. Yeah.
Right.
So the next morning, Angela comes downstairs. She's all dressed up.
Yep.
Looks like a little sailor girl or something.
I'm not sure what's going on there with the but that's her brunch outfit.
That is her brunch, a very important brunch outfit.
Very important brunch outfit.
And the kids are all dressed up too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, they're all dressed up, and then we don't see them again.
Right, and then the kids completely disappear. But they look adorable right now. So they're all standing in the living room. She's like, everything is going to be perfect. She walks into the kitchen, and from the living room, you just hear a scream.
I know, so funny.
So the kids follow her into the kitchen to see what's wrong. And when we get into the kitchen, all the guys are still there. There's smoke everywhere. Yep. The kitchen is a complete disaster.
Yeah. The keg that was standing up is now knocked over.
Right.
Which means at least 80-something, 6 beers were drank.
Oh, my goodness.
Or whatever. And Pee-wee, the Hawaiian shirt's off. He's almost... He's almost down to
underwear.
Yeah, he's got one shirt off.
So Tony's like, what are you guys doing up so early? And they're like, it's morning. Samantha says, didn't you notice the sunrise?
I know. I love this line, Tony. Yeah, was it nice? What did he say?
Oh, yeah. I know. Was it nice?
Yeah, was it nice?
That's very Tony.
Like she's letting him know you missed an awesome sunrise. Not the fact that he stayed up all night.
Right. So Tony's like, oh, wait, everybody out. You got to get out right now. And Angela goes over, opens up the fridge, and she's like, where's all the food for brunch? And
it's like my quiches and my cucumber sandwiches. What the cucumber sandwiches? Get out of here.
Oh, that sounds good. Actually, I'd eat that. So they look at Pee-wee because Pee-wee said he got the munchies and he ate all of it.
Oh, Pee-wee.
So as they're leaving, Joey Rossini's like, Eddie, you coming? And Eddie's like, no, I'm going to hang out here and help Tony clean up. So Angela's just disgusted. She goes back out into the living room and then starts tidying up the living room, which looks impeccable, by just moving around the plant.
Moving that same plant that Tony moved before his buds came over.
Right. Oh, and I forgot to mention that as they're leaving, you see that boom mic.
Yes, there's a boom mic. Good boom mic.
Yeah. Right in the middle of the
boom
screen.
Mic watch.
Yeah.
We need to start having a boom mic watch.
A boom mic. I know there's so many things we should have been counting, and now it's too late to count anything.
No, it's never too late. We got like 8
but
more seasons. But
I mean to start from the beginning and recount everything.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I'm not doing that.
So Tony comes out and he's like, Eddie and I are going to have this place cleaned up in no time. And Angela says, Eddie cannot stay here. And Tony's like, well, I mean, he's my friend and you were fine with him last night. She's like, I like him. It's just that I don't want him to be here when Emily arrives because Eddie and Emily come from 2 very different worlds. And I don't think it's a good idea for those worlds to collide.
All right, worlds to collide. And then at that point, Tony says, thanks, Carl Sagan.
Yeah, I had no idea who that was.
I didn't either. I mean, I had to look it up. I mean, the name seemed familiar, but other than that, I had no idea who Carl Sagan was. He was an American astronomer, planetary scientist, I almost said well, he's a cosmologist. I almost said cosmopologist or whatever.
I thought you were going to say cosmetologist.
Cosmetologist. I think that's what I almost said.
That's right. I'm sorry.
An astrophysicist.
What years is he like from? Is he alive?
No, he passed away in 1996.
Oh, okay. So relatively modern time.
But he was well known. I'm sure, right.
I just wasn't sure if he was like Galileo time or he was
no
more recent.
Galileo time.
So
1934 to 1996.
Okay, got it. So Tony's like, don't worry. he's not going to embarrass you, and he's going to be long gone before Emily even gets here.
Ding dong.
Exactly. So now we meet Emily. She's played by Gina Michaels, who is probably best known for her stint on Dallas, and she was also on Santa Barbara and another soap opera called Generations. And unfortunately, she passed away in 2018 of lymphoma.
So recent.
Yeah, just a couple years ago. So Angela and Emily are squealing their hellos, hugging. Emily's coming in saying how quaint and charming her house is. Like, her last friend that came during the sorority sister lady, I can't remember what her name was.
Yeah, I remember her.
She also was kind of like, oh, your house is so cute and cozy.
Right.
But it's like, what do these women live in? Because this is a large house.
I know, it is.
So she comes in, and as they're walking through the living room, Eddie comes out and then says to Tony,
my God. Yeah, I almost lost it. I mean, I did lose it.
Who's
so
the
funny.
fox with the great maracas?
Right. I've never heard breast referred to as maracas, ever.
I don't know that
And
I
I'm
have.
not even sure that that's like a compliment. Maracas are like,
Yeah, they're like small
flat
and hard, and
yeah,
they
maracas.
they make a sound when they move around. But I
Terrible.
mean, and he
Maracas.
says it's right in earshot, so she absolutely heard him say it.
Yeah.
So Angela tries to diffuse the situation and introduces them. Says, Emily, this is my housekeeper, Tony. This is his friend, Eddie. And Eddie shakes Emily's hand and then will not let go. So I think at this point, Emily and Eddie are feeling some sort of spark between the two of them. She's like, oh, you have a very strong grip. And he says, that's from spray cans. I'm an exterminator.
Right. He's really selling it.
So Tony pries his hand off of Emily, and then Eddie asks Emily, what do you do to make a buck? And she's like, oh, I perform studies on organizational productivity at Stanford. So...
He's like, I like girls with big brains.
Right.
brains.
Another boob reference from Eddie. So Eddie can't take his eyes off.
Hang on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
This just in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked up the definition of maraca. A percussion instrument consisting of a hollow gourd containing pebbles or beans, often played in pairs. We knew that.
Yeah.
Here's another definition. Breasts.
Oh, okay.
I'm not kidding. It says it right there.
All right. So they are known as maracas.
It's definitions.net, so take it for what it is.
People are probably
Breasts,
yelling at their phone or their car.
They're like maracas.
Or boobs, dude. Yeah, always.
Yeah.
But still not
I'm
a
sure.
compliment. Like, they're hard and...
Yeah, slang definition, another website. There's a few of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I should have looked.
Maybe it's just an older...
I knew I should have done that research earlier. I would have known that maracas are breasts.
Okay, so...
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Eddie can't take his eyes off of Emily. And, like, if Emily wasn't into this, he is being super creepy.
I know. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Yeah. But, she seems
Which
to
is
be
what
into
Angela
it.
thought probably would have happened.
Right. But even Angela and Tony are just like, oh, he's crazy Eddie. But it's like, okay, this guy's kind of a creep. So Tony and Angela go into the kitchen, and Angela's like, I told you. And Tony says, I know. Emily is really uptight. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Eddie, your friend who evaluates people's maracas.
Maraca again with maracas.
So, Emily's uptight because she is just standing there while some man
checks out her maracas.
Makes crude comments at her, yeah. So Tony says, well, some people think that that's a compliment.
He's got a point.
Angela says, leave my mother out of this.
I know, that's right. That is so funny. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good one.
That was very funny. So,
which is funny. That tells you that Mona has been told, A, she has nice maracas. Well, and B, that she finds it as a compliment.
Right.
Right?
And I think anytime anyone says anything flattering about Mona's body, she's going to take it as a compliment.
Yep.
So Angela tells him, your friend is ruining my brunch. So Tony's like, okay, I'll get him out of here. I'll take him to the station. It's obvious that oil and vinegar don't mix.
Right. And then...
So they open up the kitchen door to go back into the living room, and Emily and Eddie are making out on the couch. So they both stop there and stare. And I love... So now we're back to cute little naive Angela, where last week she was making TNA jokes about... Was that last episode? No, a couple episodes ago. TNA jokes when they were at the PTA meeting. And
now she has no idea what's happening on the couch.
My God, what are they doing?
I know.
And Tony says, they're making salad dressing.
I know. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, though. So
no, it was. It was really funny.
And Eddie and Emily are so absorbed in one another that they don't hear any of this happening.
Of course.
So Tony and Angela go back into the kitchen. And they're like, what are we going to do?
All right, how are we going to handle this?
Yes. And then Tony has his first, maybe first, I don't know, of this episode, slapping and stomping.
Oh, it's not the first time.
Really? Okay.
No.
He says,
but this is the first time he stomped.
Do you have any croutons? And he's so proud of his joke.
And he loses it. Like, it's the best thing he's ever said. He's stomping his feet like he's communicating with a horse.
He is very proud of himself. And Angela's hearing none of this. She just wants it over. So they make a big show of going back into the living room. Like, we should get back to our guests.
Very sitcom.
Yeah.
The very sitcom move.
And they open the door, and now Eddie and Emily are on opposite sides of the couch. But they're still staring at each other. Right,
like nothing happened.
Right. So Angela just is trying to, like, change the topic, and it's like, oh, I guess you'll never believe who I ran into. And Emily's just not paying attention to her at all. All she's doing is staring at Eddie and breathing heavily.
Yeah.
So she's like,
and all Eddie's doing is thinking about those maracas.
She was like, it was Sarah Connors and she looks terrible. But let's not make mean jokes about your old friends.
Yeah.
Especially coming from Angela, who already has just terrible friends.
I know.
So
I think she's trying to get her attention.
Yeah, totally. So Tony's trying to get Eddie out of the house now. And Emily is like, oh, well, please don't leave on my account. So Eddie he goes right back and sits back down on the couch in the same position he was in and starts staring at her again.
Yeah.
So Emily asks Angela if she has hand lotion. And Angela says, I do in my purse probably, but it's not the type that Emily uses. She needs the one with extra emollients and deep penetrating, I had half a beer, sorry, moisturizers.
Oh, no. And she looks right at Eddie.
Right.
With the penetrating moisture. It gets so dirty all of a sudden. So filthy.
So again, like, these are all jokes that adults will get, but this is going to totally go over a kid's head every time. So Angela's like, I don't think I have that lotion.
I think that was her way of saying...
Let's go have sex in this van.
Escalate. Yeah, let's go have sex in that pedophile van out front.
So Emily asks if there's a drugstore nearby. Eddie's like, yes. And then he volunteers to take her. Yeah. Grabs the keys to Tony's van, and they're out the front door in seconds.
I like Tony's like, hey. And they just leave. No. They like run out the front door. And like, she's going to go have sex in that van.
Angela has the worst
the benefit
friends.
is the van has no windows, thank God.
That is true.
It is truly a...
But this is now the second terrible friend that she's had come visit. The sorority sister lady whose name I cannot remember for some reason.
I can't remember either. But
she came there, like, slept with Tony, then left him, went to the party without him or whatever. Now, this lady has come
blew him off.
She came to her friend's house for brunch, and within 15 minutes...
With very little notice, mind you. I'll be there Saturday.
Right, very little notice. She is now leaving to go have sex with some man in a van.
Yeah, I'll be back. Brunch will continue after.
No judging sex with anyone in a van, but it's just a little rude to do that when you're breaking your brunch date with your friends.
That's true.
Get his number and then go by later. Okay, so... Angela's only rebuff to her leaving so quickly is that her skin has always been very dry.
I know.
So now some time has passed. We don't know.
No idea.
And they're in the kitchen when Mona comes in, loudly singing "What's Love Got to Do with It." I don't know if she was out working out or if she's just walking around.
Yeah, it's part of like her, I had a crazy wild night.
Right.
I think,
But it's also kind of a fitting song for what's happening in the van.
That's true. Right.
And as we were discussing earlier, they would have had to pay for that song because it's recognizable.
Yeah, that's true.
So this must be why Tony always has to sing his own little ditty.
Wait a moment.
So that they can save the money for when they need to actually pay for songs.
Which is now.
So they ask her how the policeman's ball was. She says she could have danced all night, but she didn't.
Yeah, so what happened after the dancing.
She probably had sex in a police car.
Right.
So she asks where Emily is. They tell her she's at the drugstore. And she's like, oh, well, they must be back by now because your van is parked out front. So they all run to the front window to see what's going on. Tony gets there first. Angela slams into him, and then Mona slams into her. And Tony says, thanks, Mo and Larry.
I know, Stooges.
Yes.
Thanks, Stooges. Yeah,
which is a reference to the Three Stooges.
Right. Which is what I thought when it happened because you paused it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the Three Stooges. And then when Tony says that, I'm like, oh.
But we're probably the last age group that would get that reference.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much younger people.
I mean, there was an old show, but it ran in repeats forever.
Yeah, but when we were kids, I don't mean.
But I'm
I don't
saying
know
it was repeated as kids, which
right.
it's still a very old show. But
yeah, but I think it's like Howdy Doody, where like we caught the tail end of all that,
right.
And like now kids or younger people in their 20s or 30s may not have any idea who the Three Stooges are, or a very, very small reference in their mind of them.
True.
Okay, so
where were we?
They're still in the car, in the van.
In the van.
And Angela says, "I don't see them," and Tony says, "Because the windows are all steamed up." And again, naive Angela, what are they doing?
I know.
So Mona says, Angela, we had that talk before you married Michael.
And the other thing is, it's like poor Tony in that van. Like, he's never going to think of that van the same.
I know.
But who knows? Maybe all kinds of shit's gone down in that van.
That's true. I'm sure Tony's had his share of sex in that van. Maybe that was the sex van. Right. But I'm sure, like, he's lent it to buddies. So it's probably no big deal. Back in the day, he probably had a mattress thrown in the back of it. Although I think later we find out that he and Marie got that van when they got married. So maybe not the mattress, but I'm sure at some point Tony had sex in that van.
Maracas were out in that van before this episode, guaranteed.
Absolutely. So they come back into the house and Emily says, oh, I'm so sorry that took so long.
Right, okay.
And then Tony looks at Eddie, and Eddie just says, what can I say? He's not even going to pretend.
Yeah, so he owns it.
Tony takes Eddie into the kitchen. Now, like, I think you could also, I mean, we don't necessarily know that they had sex in the van. So I guess if you're a kid or something, you could just assume that maybe they just made out or kissed or something.
Right.
Like, you may not get all the jokes to put that together until you're an adult.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean...
Yeah, because I probably watched this episode as a kid and didn't realize that they had sex in that van.
Oh, maybe I did. I was 4 years older than you.
That's true. Okay, so Tony takes Eddie into the kitchen, and Emily says to Angela, would you believe we had to drive all the way to New Haven to find the hand cream? And Angela just says, no. Hartford? No. So in the kitchen, he's taken Eddie in there to look for bugs. And Tony's like, what are you doing? And Eddie's like, I'm looking for bugs. That's why you brought me in here. And he's like, no, I can't believe you and Angela's best friend. And he's like, I know. So now they're kind of having their little separate conversations detailing partially, hopefully, what happened in the van. Mm-hmm. And this part is fun because, like, Tony and Angela are seeing what their attraction could be if they didn't have all of these other strings attached.
Through the eyes of
this couple. Right. Yeah. Like if they didn't have to worry about the kids and the job and like what's going to happen and were just able to have fun, they probably could have gotten it all long ago and just enjoyed the attraction part of the relationship. But they obviously have much more tied to this than these two do.
Right.
So in the living room, and Emily's like, I just couldn't help myself. When he started to nibble on my... Angela's like, please, spare me the details.
Right.
But Emily's like, well, Eddie's just so refreshing. Like, he's strong, but he's sweet, and he's uncomplicated. And I think, like, that's getting Angela into a territory that she really doesn't want to consider, because that's also what she thinks about Tony.
Right.
So she's like, nibbled on your what?
I know. Like, suddenly she's interested.
Right. And in the kitchen, Tony and Eddie, I don't know what Eddie's telling to Tony, but it sounds very good to him. Whatever Emily did in that van. And so he's like, oh, she doesn't seem like the type. But he says, you wouldn't believe what they teach them in graduate school.
I know. And then Tony is perplexed.
So, like, after Emily did whatever she did to Eddie, did she say, I learned that in graduate school?
Yeah. Right. Like, what happened? Did you like that? I learned that in graduate school. That's a good point.
So, back in the living room, Emily must be asking Angela about her relationship with Tony, because Angela's like, no, Tony and I do not have a relationship like that.
Right.
And Emily's like, well, haven't you ever thought about it? And she says never, which we all know is a lie, Angela.
Yeah, it's a lie.
Come on.
That's a lie.
So right then, Tony and Eddie come back in, and they're like, nope, no bugs in the kitchen. Eddie's like, you want me to check in the bedrooms? And they're all like,
yeah, no bedroom, no bedroom.
Stay away. You already sullied the van. Stay out of the bedrooms.
I know, and not to mention, and I meant to bring this up earlier. Eddie's been up all night.
Right. Oh, that's
playing poker.
Yes, I was thinking that too. Like, he had to have
He's
some
gross.
rank breath. Yeah, beer breath and cigars,
and then it's on. It's
right.
on with Emily.
Yeah.
So whatever. Like, I mean, like, he's got to be gross.
Yeah, I guess her attraction just went through all
maybe.
of that. So Tony's like, I'll go make us something to eat. And Angela says, great idea, because I imagine we've all worked up an appetite.
Yeah, right. Which is like, I don't mean we.
Right. I don't mean we. I don't mean you. I don't mean anything. So she goes to help Tony in the kitchen, and they leave Emily and Eddie in the living room. And in the kitchen, Tony's like, talk about your worlds colliding.
Yeah, boom.
Boom. And we're talking about the Big Bang Theory, which is also funny for the adults.
Yeah.
So Angela says, well, from what Emily said, they had a lovely time. And I don't know if I would really, I mean, I'm sure sex in a van is fun. I don't know if I would say lovely.
No, it's such a romantic time.
Such a lovely time.
That fan sex.
So, and Tony is like, well, that's exactly how Eddie said, what he described it as, lovely. So, they say, well, opposites do attract, and they're kind of staring at each other. And Tony says, Emily's so classy. No, I'm sorry. Angela says, Emily is so, and Tony finishes her sentence with classy.
Right.
And he says, and Eddie's so, and Angela finishes his sentence with physical.
Physical, right.
So
Which describes
here
them.
they're talking about themselves.
Right.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know what happened in the living room while they were in the kitchen, but now Eddie wants to leave. So Eddie comes in. He probably figured out that he and this lady have nothing else to talk about now that they've had sex. So Eddie comes in, and he wants Tony to take him to the train. And he says, it was very nice to meet you, to Emily. Call me if you're ever back in town, or if you have any bug problems. Did we discuss that Emily lives in California?
I don't know. No, I don't think we did.
All right. So, yeah. So
basically, they'll never see each other.
Right. Like, unless they make a point of seeing one another.
Right.
He says, thank you for the hospitality to Angela, and you too, Emily.
Right, no, and then laughs.
So when they get outside, Tony's like, what is going on? Why are you running off so quickly? And he asks, are you going to see her again? And Eddie's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to take her to Marty's Melody Room for pool? Which is a nice callback to the bar
Marty's
that they've been to before. Yeah. Yep. And he said, and then what happens? We get married and she moves to Brooklyn with me? Like, it's not going to happen. It's not natural. Which is, that's a little overboard.
Yeah, like, it's not be ridiculous.
It's not like one's a human and one's an animal or something.
Right.
It's not natural. So inside the house, Angela also asks Emily, like, are you going to see him again? And she says, not unless he shows up at the next faculty tea.
Right. Like a similar thing, like what he said outside.
Yeah. And she's like, it might be fun. It might be a lot of fun. But eventually a man like that would suffocate in my world.
Right.
Now, this is a thought for Angela because, I think that is probably, it's the stuff after the sex that has always kind of kept them from trying any of this, because it's like, would Tony want to just live in her world for the rest of his life?
Right.
Would he feel comfortable being with a woman who makes more than him? He's thinking, would she date me because she dates guys who are like super rich and can take her to these cabins on the weekends or whatever? So I think that kind of puts that in her head as to why this may not work out. So Emily says to Angela, I'm famished. What do you have to eat? Angela says nothing.
Nothing. Because Pee-wee ate everything. He ate all the cucumber sandwiches.
I know, and I don't even know that they ever really explained that to Emily.
No.
Tony's friend destroyed the kitchen.
Yeah, he ate the quiches and the cucumber sandwiches.
So Angela suggests that they go to the country club, and Emily goes to freshen up, which is probably a good idea, and goes into the bathroom. So Tony comes back into the house because he forgot his keys.
Right.
And asks Angela how Emily is. And she says she's very hungry. And she asks how Eddie is. He says Eddie can't get to Brooklyn fast enough, so I'm just going to drive him.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'll be at the club. And he says, okay, well, I'm going to stay in Brooklyn for a while and shoot some pool. And then he asks her, oh, yeah, because he and Eddie, sorry, I missed that part. He and Eddie talked about how, like, what am I going to do, take her to Marty's Melody Room and play pool?
Right,
and
well,
Tony's
we did
like,
kind of
well, maybe
that,
she likes pool.
Right, that's the part, yeah.
So he asks Angela, do you shoot pool? And she's like, no. And he's like, I didn't think so.
Yeah, see.
But okay, so now they're both leaving the house, and the children, first of all, we never saw the children after they were all dressed up, so they got dressed up for nothing.
I know.
And now everybody's leaving.
Where were they this whole time?
And no one's even telling the children or worried about I guess Mona's there, so maybe they're just like, they're home with Mona.
Right, like 2 episodes ago, it was a big deal that Sam watched Jonathan. Now all of a sudden they're all walking out the door. Right. No one cares.
Yeah, see you later. So Emily comes out of the bathroom to grab her jacket, and Tony and Angela are still like in the foyer area. And as she's about to leave, she's like, what the hell? And she picks up Eddie's number and then heads out the door.
Yeah.
And Tony and Angela give each other a look. Like, maybe this means that,
something's going to flourish.
Something could work out. I think it gives them a little bit of hope again. So, in the tag, they're all playing poker. It's now Mona, Jonathan, Tony, Samantha, and Angela sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And Mona's borrowing money from Jonathan.
I know. You can tell that Jonathan's owning this table.
Oh, yeah. So Jonathan, on one hand, he puts his whole piggy bank in.
Yeah, this is it. All in.
And Angela asks, are you sure you want to do that? Because that's a lot of money. And he's like, well, isn't 4 aces good? And they all fold. Except Tony's like, no. I fell for this with your mother. Right. So this isn't happening to me again.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. So he's like, I want to see. So he pulls out his wallet and throws it on the table. And then he puts down his full house.
Yeah.
And Jonathan has 4 aces.
And he claps there.
Oh, does he? Yep. Yeah. Well, he's not clapping after that because Jonathan puts all 4 of his aces down and says, I told you.
I know. Like, I warned you.
Right. And that is the end of the episode.
Yep.
So cute.
Yep. That's a good one. The clap count was 9.
Really? 9 times?
9 times he claps in this episode.
So wait, is it 9 claps or 9 times he clapped at his joke?
Just 9 times that he claps. They're not always, like, one of them's like, hey, let's go do this. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a thing where it's not always a joke.
Oh, I got
But when it's a joke, it's a good
I
clap.
See. Okay.
Right. He'll be like, hey, let's move on to this. Or what? I can't think of it exact.
Right.
But I started counting the claps. I'm like, 9 times. I mean, it's an average of 20 minutes.
It's just got to be like a dad thing.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. It was his thing.
Yeah,
it was his thing. But
it's funny.
Now I really notice it every time it happens.
I can't remember who did rating first. I don't even know if anyone.
It
doesn't even matter, right?
No.
Okay. You want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
because I'd be curious to know who your boss is. Don't look at my notes.
Oh, okay.
Don't.
I'm not I can't read your handwriting.
I know
this
that's
far
true,
away
and
anyway.
it says really dumb things anyway. Matter of fact, earlier when I said that they're using real beer,
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes that I think that's real bear, and I was kind of confused for a minute, but then I realized what I meant to write was beer.
If there's one word I would expect you know how to spell, it's beer.
I know, you'd think. Rating, I'd give this thing a 7.5.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of foreshadowing and Tony and Angela moments that were great.
Yeah.
You know, comparing Eddie and oh my gosh, what's her name?
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah, yeah.
Eddie and Emily. You know, those were good moments there. So, and then like moments where like when Eddie and Emily left, then Tony and Angela had to kind of team up and figure out what's happening.
Right.
How are we going to handle this? So it was a good episode all the way around. Even the tag was good.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. I
Okay,
went
I
a
almost
little
gave
higher.
it an 8. Okay. Now I feel bad.
No, don't feel bad. Because of the same reasons, like I had a lot of good Tony and Angela moments. I thought the comedy elements of them, like walking in on them and Angela's naive, I can never say that word. Her being naive. I can never say.
Naive.
No, never mind. So yes, her being naive, her not understanding what they're doing, that kind of stuff. And then her playing around with the guys was really cute. So
Yeah, that was all good too.
And it was a complete story. You know, I feel like
Right. There wasn't something that was like, what happened with that? Like the golf stuff.
I mean, the
and
Mona stuff kind of trails off. Like Mona's just there. There's really no storyline.
Yeah,
with
they
the
just kind of
policeman's
mixed
ball or
her
anything,
in.
But
it's hard when you have all these characters to really have a lot of
right. You got to have Mona in every episode,
right.
But you can't necessarily have Mona have a storyline in every episode. So
Right.
sometimes she gets
Same with
treated
the
like the
kids.
kids, where they just sort of disappear for the rest of it. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good one.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
Okay, so my boss for this episode is Emily.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason is because she just I think she put this idea in Angela's head a bit, and she saw what she wanted. She went after it. She didn't apologize for it, even though I think she's not a great friend.
Right.
And then when she kind of had Angela thinking like, oh, this, maybe we would never really be able to work out, she went back and grabbed the number.
Right, like left. Maybe, what the hell?
What the hell?
Yeah.
And so, I went with Emily. Because I feel like, if anything, she maybe put a thought in their head a little bit that people from opposite worlds could collide.
All right, well, look at you, little miss, thinking outside the box. I don't, I have no boss, so I would not have ever thought to. To me, it's one of the family members.
Oh.
So I have nobody. I could not.
So wait, you were saying don't look at my page.
Because I didn't want you to see that I didn't have a boss. meaning
gotcha.
like, I don't know. I didn't want it to skew your.
I see. Okay.
But then I'm thinking, who could it be? Who did you have? And actually, yours is really good.
Oh, thank you. That's funny. Because I thought, you had something way out of left field, too, because you didn't want me to see.
Yeah, Pee-wee's the boss.
Right. Philly fingers.
Yeah. After Pee-wee ate those quiches and the cucumber sandwiches, I knew he was the boss. And he had taken his Hawaiian shirt off. No.
If Philly Fingers' wife hadn't left him, then they wouldn't have had to play at Tony's house.
That's true.
Or Jonathan's the boss, because he's always giving Mona money.
Right, and he owned the end. But he was in about a minute and a half of this episode.
These poor kids had to show up that night, just put on 2 outfits.
I think they had the same outfits.
No, well, he maybe did. I don't think it's in the beginning, but Samantha had the different outfit on at the beginning.
Really? I thought she had this outfit on that was in the tag.
No, remember when she was talking about how they're all disgusting? She's there for the part with the phone.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay. Sorry, this episode's going on way too long. I'll stop talking.
They show up on a Friday night. They're on TV for about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they go home.
I know, but that's how it was with kids, too. So it's probably a good thing.
All right. So you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. Or on Twitter, we're Who's the Boss Pod 1. I have been really bad about posting on Twitter. Sorry. I don't think
Everybody forgets about Twitter. It's all right.
Most of the people who interact with us are on Instagram, and then we have a few people on Facebook. So those are the two that I've been focusing on, but I should get better.
I mean, if you go on Twitter, Twitter's going to be a bunch of people telling you how Who's the Boss sucks. So just stay away from Twitter.
Luckily, not enough people see our tweets to say that, but you're right, if anyone did. But I feel Twitter. Like on Twitter, we probably have the best chance of, like, Tony or Alyssa retweeting something, so I really should focus
yeah, that's
on
true.
that.
So we should focus
Tony
on
Danza has liked 2 of my tweets on Twitter, but not retweeted. Okay, and then, or you can go to the Who's the Boss podcast page on Facebook. Or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast and leave us a message. Okay, so we don't have a song for the end, and this is already an hour and 10 minutes. So we're just going to say goodnight. Goodbye.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back. Bye. I added some extra.